I want to actually take this moment to appreciate all the brown parents out there, and especially my family, because of all the good they've done for me growing up as a kid. Because I know I was a shitty kid growing up. I used to ask for all these things I never wanted in my life or needed in my life. Like, I don't know, I wanted them, but I never needed them. These little petty toys, a new iPhone every year or every 2 years, a new, back then there were no iPhones, they were Androids or little Samsung phones. I used to.
Shut up and sit down.
Those are the same people to be telling girls not to wear dresses so that guys don't look at them. First of all, guys, be respectful. Don't pet peeve.
Please,
not pet peeve.
don't
Stare.
catcall.
Nothing.
Don't catcall. Don't tease. Be fucking respectful. And if you think that doing, I think there's a stigma somewhere that they believe that doing this kind of stuff makes them cool. Please, it doesn't.
Where is
this coming from?
the being cool part comes from? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Have you watched some Tapori movie and realized that somehow it makes you cool and somehow
Probably they watch Kabir Singh.
somehow you think that if you do that a girl would be attracted to you, and maybe at some point in your life a girl was attracted to you for doing those things, but
It doesn't work like that.
let me give it to you in a way that you will understand it's not going to last. That's not what a healthy relationship looks like. Don't aim for toxicity in your life just because you can't find anything else. Don't settle for toxic stuff in your life just because you are alone and you're feeling miserable. Stay that, work on self-improvement, and then find someone who appreciates you for the way you are, and you don't have to feel like you're settling.
And the way we were talking before about when I think about toxic relationships, I always think about two unhealed individuals coming together. And what do you get when you mix two bad things? It's not going to be good, obviously.
This is not physics. Two negatives don't make a positive.
It's not
When it comes
to
trauma.
It's not going to be, so that's what I think.
Yeah.
Two unhealed individuals coming together is obviously bound to fail.
I'll tell you what happens when two healed individuals come in together, two healed self-aware individuals come in together.
Self-aware is the word.
Two healed self-aware individuals come together, then they find something that's going to last long and probably be something worth holding on to.
Yeah.
But before you get into a relationship, what you need to understand is that you don't have to get into a relationship just for the sake of getting into a relationship. Because that's what teenagers are doing nowadays. They think that it's vital to be in a relationship. It's part of their status quo, whatever. And it's because if they don't do it, they're not considered cool.
That's sad.
Let me tell you something, because I'm not a teenager anymore and I've passed through stages. And
I'm 21, so
none of us is a teenager anymore. And let us tell you that it's okay to go through high school without being in a relationship. If you don't find the right person, you're not missing out on anything. Maybe there's a very good chance that you're avoiding on lifelong trauma. Speaking from personal experience.
Trauma.
Lifelong trauma.
Yeah. Now trauma comes in different ways,
Exactly.
I've seen people belittle other people saying, "Oh, that's nothing. I've been through way worse than that." What is that?
Yeah. Don't do that. Don't trauma shame anyone.
Trauma shame is an actual thing.
It's a thing. Guys. Don't trauma shame anyone. Just because your trauma, just because you believe that your trauma is worse than the other people, don't shame them on that. Everyone has their own battles and struggles they're going through on a daily basis. And the fact that you go and tell them that my trauma is worse than yours, it's both of them have traumas at the end of the day, and the fact that you are telling or comparing traumas just goes on to show that you're not on the path of healing but quite the opposite.
You're on an ego path.
Lose the ego to it's so rich coming from me. I used to be an egoistic individual.
You're
When I was a
self-aware,
teenager,
King. Self-aware. We love to see that.
like when I was a teenager, I would have this built-up ego, like I'm the best.
Mhm.
Because I had this
I'm the
thing in high school. I was the shit. No, I was the shit in high school.
Yeah.
And I used to be one of the popular ones. I used to be one in the relationship. I used to be one that everyone knew
Mhm.
who I was.
Yeah.
Every teacher knew that who I was.
Mhm.
And people would, I don't know, like people would like to be friends with me.
Mhm.
So which built up an ego inside of me
Yeah.
that would make me think that I'm the shit and you ain't shit in front of me.
Mm.
The minute I left high school, it humbled me to a
Woo, come back to
that
earth.
level, yeah. And it tells you that high school is just that's what it is.
Of your
You
life.
leave high school, you go to college, you leave the college, you leave your country. That humbles you.
That really humbles
That
you,
humbles
coming back
you.
to a new country.
You leave your country and you go to a different country, and then it hits you. You ain't shit.
Yeah, and you have to start all the way from down and build your way up.
Exactly.
You know.
And that's when you do that, when you build your way all the way up from the bottom, and then you lose the ego.
For me, biggest part is mom and dad. If you're listening to us, I used to be very, very as a child demanding, and I
Same.
have to, as a child you love to have fine things in life, good
Yeah.
things. You see your friends. I was always the type to, mom, I need this. Dad, I need that.
Yeah.
And they always provided.
Yeah.
In a way or the other, they always provided for me.
Yeah.
But when I came here, had to start my job,
Mm-hmm.
then I realized, I don't need that.
Yeah.
You know?
You don't need that. I want to actually take this moment to appreciate all the brown parents out there, and especially my family, because of all the good they've done for me growing up as a kid, because I know I was a shitty kid growing up. I used to ask for all these things I never wanted in my life.
Yeah.
Or needed in my life. Like, I don't know, I wanted them, but I never needed them.
Mhm.
These little petty toys, a new iPhone every year or every 2 years, a new, back then there were no iPhones, they were Androids or
Yeah.
little Samsung phones.
Mhm.
I used to. How do you nibble like that?
I don't know. I just love it. Okay.
Moving to New Zealand,
Mm.
what was that like?
For me, I always used to love
Mm-hmm.
the idea of going abroad.
Yeah.
And eventually I'm here.
I know you told me the story of how it happened. Do you want to tell it again?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So in my family, I have an elder sister. So I always used to think that going abroad would be, it's either me or my sister. And obviously she's older, so,
She'll get
she's...
the first chance.
So then my dad and mom ask her if she wants to go abroad, and she says no because she's a little bit shy by nature. And then in my heart I was like, I really want to go, but I'm only going to let my mom and dad approach me. I didn't say it by myself.
You're not going to give it away.
And then when my mom and dad told me, do you want to go to New Zealand, there was no hesitation as such.
Yes.
I'll take it. I'll go to New Zealand, not even New Zealand, go abroad, because we were considering Australia, Canada, and New Zealand.
Yeah, these are the 3 countries you look for
when you go.
Yeah.
And then I remember asking my sister, are you sure you don't want to go? But then she tells me, no, I'm sure I'll stay here. And then I was like, here we go. I'm going to go.
Mhm.
So here I am now. It's been a very good time, but with its own
challenges
as well. How's yours been?
More or less the same. Mine was pre-planned. It wasn't like who's going to go first or what.
Mhm.
I was on the list.
Yeah.
So I was doing my graduation, and I think I was preparing it for 2 years now.
Mhm.
As soon as I got out of high school, I'm like, I'm going to go abroad. But I'm going to do my graduation from India, and once I'm done, I'll do my master's from abroad.
Mm-hmm.
So I started preparing during my second year, during my student phase.
Ooh.
God knows I got any work done. It's a lot of work to be done. You got to
Yeah.
write a statement of purpose or stuff like that to the college, and
yeah.
then to the visa.
Mhm.
And I don't know how I did any of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started preparing, got my visa, and had a lot of drama towards the end of it, which we talked about in the last podcast. You should hear it.
Listen to it.
Yeah, and then I got my visa and I came here. Moving here was very whelming. Whelming,
Not over,
not
not
under.
under.
Whelming.
Fair enough, yeah.
Because it's not what I expected. Because you grow up, you watch these movies,
Yeah.
and you have an idea at the back of your head that this is what an abroad or going out of India looks like.
All of that.
Nothing like that. Because all those movies talk about the United States of America.
Yeah.
We're not obviously going there. You come to New Zealand, it's not what they show in the movies. It's a lot similar like the villages of India. A lot of greenery, a lot of grasslands, a lot of sheeps and cattle, and
Beautiful though.
beautiful. No,
I
no,
love
no.
it.
Don't get me wrong. It's beautiful, but there's no tall buildings like the fucking Times Square or the Empire's building or stuff like that. Nothing like that. That's only in Auckland, maybe Wellington,
Yeah.
something in Queenstown.
Mm-hmm.
You
Not
think?
really in Queenstown.
Not really. Queenstown is a hill station. So yeah, Wellington and Auckland. That's it. Outside of that, it's nothing what you would expect. So when I came, my college was in Rotorua.
Mm.
Landed in Auckland. Immediately got into a cab that was sent by my college, my hostel.
Yeah.
Took me to Rotorua. Never actually got to, explore Auckland.
Mhm.
And went to Rotorua. I'm like, what the fuck is this? This is worse than Delhi.
Yeah.
This is not what I signed up for.
Mm.
Took me a while to
Adjust.
get adjusted to the whole idea that it's gonna be way lower than your expectations.
Mm.
But I found my fun around it. You find your ways to have fun around
For me, it's different because coming from Mauritius,
it only gets better.
for me, it's like Portlaoise is buildings, yeah, but it's a totally different lifestyle and totally different scenery, and I loved it.
Mhm.
For me, it's different. For you were thinking, oh, Delhi, and then this and that, but you still found your own joy, your happiness,
Exactly,
you know.
yeah.
But the initial moment of, oh,
This
the
is
first
not
impression,
what
I would say.
hoped was.
Maybe
Yeah.
first impression.
First impression,
Yeah.
like this is not what I hoped.
But for me, first impression was really good.
Yeah.
I remember from the airport coming to my hostel, I was like,
You lived in Auckland ever since you got
Yeah,
there.
that's what I was
the
gonna
big
say.
difference.
that's
the
what I
big
was gonna
difference,
say. Yeah.
yeah. I recently moved to Auckland in April this year,
Yeah.
so that's one of the big differences.
Yeah. And also the loneliness that comes with.
It hits you.
For me, I would say I'm lonely. When people say homesick, I was homesick probably for 2 weeks when I came here. But other than that, I miss my family. I missed you guys, okay? But
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
I miss my family, but I also love.
The independence.
I would say, yeah.
It's got a little music to it.
Mm.
The independence.
Yeah.
It's not okay. It's not because I'm not with you guys. It's not.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's
not
because I'm
that.
not in my country. It's not because I'm in Delhi. I hated being in Delhi. I hated every minute of that overwhelming feeling that anyone's gonna come from the opposite side of the road and hit my car. It's the overwhelming feeling of being in one of the most polluted cities in the world, one of the most crowded cities in the world, one of the most populated cities in the world. It was getting too congested. I was getting, what's that word? When you are
Phobia. Claustrophobic.
claustrophobic. I was getting very claustrophobic.
I
in
just
Delhi.
got a thought. What if people watching will be like, "Oh, are you the next Veerdas? You're sitting here and you're criticizing Delhi."
I'm not. I have a special place in my heart
Yeah, I know.
for Delhi.
I just got that thought.
I know. No, I need to clarify.
Yeah,
so I don't get
sorry.
a FIR against me
You
or
don't get
cancelled.
cancelled. Yeah.
I have a special place in my heart for Delhi. I spent 19 years in that city growing up. 19 years, it's a long time. I explored every inch and corner of that city there is to explore, and ever since I got my hands on a scooty or a bike or a car, I just traveled and did nothing else. So I love Delhi, but I just didn't see myself growing up in a place
Yeah.
like Delhi. It just
To be
didn't
fair,
seem
yeah.
very viable for me at the moment.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy with the decisions I make. It's been 4 years that I've been in New Zealand and couldn't have been any better than that. Maybe? Yeah, no. I don't
Yeah,
regret
me
anything.
too. Because if I say maybe if my Mauritian friends are gonna listen and watch, and I love my country. I really love my country, but it's something I would visit. I would go there to spend time with my family, but I don't see myself.
Growing old.
Yeah.
That's the thing. People usually say growing up, but talk about growing old and all that noise and honk. Do you know how
Maybe
common
in your
it
country,
is
knowing
to
mine.
honk
Yeah.
in Delhi?
Oh yeah, in my country as well. Honk.
So common.
Yeah.
Here, when I came first to New Zealand, no one was honking. I'm like,
What's
do
happening?
the cars not have horns,
Yeah.
or what's happening here? And then I found out eventually that people just don't honk here unless you've been driving like a maniac.
Really? Yeah.
That's
recklessly.
basically getting abused. If you get honked at, which means you got abused, it's the equivalent of on daily roads. You know how you go, "Oh, बहन चोद कैसे चला रहा है?" That's the honking
Yeah.
equivalent of here,
In
New Zealand.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's some things that you get used to it. One of the other things that I had to get used to is the shops close at 5.
That's a thing that many Indians have told me, that they
Yeah.
were expecting it to close way up at
All of the shops go until 9, at least 9 is
9
the
or 10.
cutoff, or
Yeah.
maybe sometimes 11. All the shopping malls are open till 1 in the morning,
Yeah.
which is like, what the fuck? Because initially I was under the impression that shops will be open and
Yeah.
only warehouse is open till 9.
Warehouse, I think Kmart.
Kmart.
Or
Kmart's open till midnight, but we didn't get Kmart in Rotorua until 1 year after I moved to Rotorua.
Mm.
So when Kmart opened, it was a big deal.
Kmart, yeah.
So you get used to the fact that shops are not going to open beyond 5, and you
Yeah.
just do your shopping before that. But it's still very boring because you come from a place where shops are open till 1 in
Exactly,
the morning.
yeah.
It's
like
big
a shock
change.
to
It's a
getting
big change.
big change in shock.
Even in Auckland, a lot of the shops close at 5.
Yeah.
Sure, the food and takeout shops are going to open, but yeah, still.
But for me, the lonely part came maybe recently, I would say. Recently,
recent events?
Oh my god, yeah. Oh my goodness. It's like I miss home. But how do I say that? I just miss home. It's like a feeling you get when
She misses home in a way that she does not want to go and live back there. She misses home in a way that she wants to visit there, stay for a month, spend time with the family, and then come back to her life in New Zealand.
yeah.
Is that
Yeah,
somewhere along
that's the proper way of
Yeah.
terming it. I miss home, so I just could see them for a while and then I get back.
Yeah.
Might seem, I don't know, some people would tell me I'm selfish.
selfish? No, it's
But
not
I don't
selfish.
know, it's just me.
I don't think it's selfish because if you manage to get out of your regular, everyday, boring lives, this is what Tamasha talks about. Because if I was in India, I would be working for, and I can tell exactly what I would be doing. I would either be working for a travel agency because I did tourism, or a hotel or a hospitality agency, and working for 1/4 of the money that I'm earning right now.
Mm-hmm.
Flash news: you get paid shit in India.
Yeah.
And or I would join my father's business
Yeah, you
and
told me about that.
get and work there,
Yeah.
which wasn't a bad thing. Except I think at a certain point he didn't want me to. Not that he said no, you can't join my business. He's like, I know you want more with your life,
To do, yeah.
and you wouldn't be content
Mm.
doing business with me in India. You're welcome to if you want.
Exactly. It's
But
good that he didn't pressurize
It's not
you
gonna
or
make you happy.
Yeah, obviously.
And he
Now-
was right.
Yeah.
I don't see myself doing that. So here I am.
Now talking about when parents tell you what you know to study and stuff like that,
Another one
which
of
sums up our initial topic, mental health.
yeah. Let's get back to that.
Yeah. So some parents forcing their child to take up a studies, which arises due to various reasons. To be honest, maybe the mom wanted to become a model and then is sorry projecting, but
It is what it is.
that's the word that comes to my head, projecting that on her daughter to
Yeah.
do modeling as if.
And that's where all the fair and lovely creams come from.
Yeah. Or otherwise just for money reasons, but without considering that the child might not be happy in the job that they do.
Yeah. A lot of it comes from. I told you I've been talking to my sister recently on what she should do with
Yeah.
her field. A lot of it comes from The fact that they have seen the practical world way more than us. We've been in schools when this conversation usually happens at some stage of our lives. It usually happens when we've been in our schools for most of our lives and we don't know what the outside world looks like, but they do. They've seen all sorts of jobs, they've seen what people do, and they know which field is the most profitable one. So
Yeah.
for them, they're doing the best for us that they can.
Yeah, sure.
But that only comes if you don't force your kids, you know. Like my dad,
You make them see the perspective and let them
and then
choose.
let them
you know?
decide. My dad, he said engineering is a good prospect, and I'm like, I'll give entrances, but I'm gonna be shit at it. So I ended up doing tourism.
Yeah.
And I'm happy with it. Would I be more happy if I pursued something else, such as investment banking or stocks? Yes, absolutely. But I'm not one to look back at my past and be like full of regrets.
I wish, yeah.
I don't do that, because the fact that you can't do anything about it makes you powerless, and that negative thinking gets to you every time. So
And every time.
Every time.
Every fucking time.
I used to be like that. I'll always think at night, thinking if only I would just do something like, because back then stock markets and stuff, it's not a very common. Even now, people don't invest in the stock markets in India,
Okay.
and it's not a very very common field. Like there's engineers, lawyers, doctors, and it's not one of those fields. You just don't get to become an investment banker or a stockbroker. So it's nothing you can do about now.
Yeah,
You do
true.
with what you have, and you be happy about it, because what's the point of being full of regret unless you can do something about it?
Yeah. I think that's one thing that I'm still working on, because I still do take like myself very you ponder over things what could have been, but I am grateful that now I have the ability to bounce back, maybe not as quick, but
What are these things mostly about that you regret?
Regret, maybe not regret, but constant worry about am I doing the right thing,
How I could have done things differently.
how I could have done things differently, which is a bad way of thinking, but getting there, I would say.
It's not a bad way of thinking. It's a very human way of thinking. Everyone thinks like that.
Yeah, it's how you proceed from that,
exactly
which matters.
What you need to realize is that you cannot change the past. Time travel hasn't been invented yet. And even if it would, that's not how time travel works. Because I'm not going to explain time travel to you. Watch Endgame. You're going to realize what time travel is. But the fact that you cannot do anything about your past should be enough for you to realize that be content with whatever stage you're at currently in your life, and maybe live accordingly in the future. Take that in mind. I'm not saying that don't think about your decisions in the past. Do think, because those are the decisions that will help your decisions in the future.
Predetermine what you
Exactly.
want to take,
Because if you just be like, oh, it's done, don't do that as well. That's a very negative thing to do, because you need to keep in consideration so you can prepare for what's to come.
Yeah.
And then be like, okay, this is how I acted before. This is how that resulted.
Yeah.
But I don't like how it resulted, so this is how I'm gonna act now.
Yeah.
I think that's the only time I think about past, is to get an idea of how it's gonna determine my future.
Yeah, for that as well, people have broad variety of how they cope.
Yes.
Coping mechanism is another thing that, for you, right now you're looking at your drink.
Fuck off.
Yeah, but yes, people cope differently. People have different ways to, but eventually, I know that people take their time, but eventually they figure out what's need to be improved on.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Kashish. It's been 6 seconds since my last drink.
And I am not an alcoholic.
And I'm not an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, at least I know that in a stage in my life where I was using alcohol as a coping mechanism, at least I was aware that it is an unhealthy coping mechanism.
Yeah.
So it was short-lived.
Yeah, but some people imagine now. Some people actually
they still
don't.
keep going on with it.
Yeah. But yeah, maybe my coping mechanism would be just not talking and either crying too much or just not talking. It's
Mhm.
not in a very good way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about therapy and with Indian mindsets and stuff?
Well, I think a lot of people, maybe in Desi societies and stuff, how they're quick to know when you say you're going to the gym, that means you're going to improve your physical body. I'm going to the gynecologist, that means something is wrong with, you know. But
Mhm.
as soon as you mention therapy, well, you're not crazy. Why are you going for therapy?
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that way.
Yeah. People think that if you're crazy, you belong in the mental hospital, or you're not crazy. There's no in between. People need to start realizing that there is somewhere in between where people can be cured. Okay, first of all, it is important that you realize that mental disease are as worse as physical diseases. They are a thing, it happens, people suffer from it, and people can be cured from it given the proper therapy and medication.
Yeah.
Such as depression, anxiety, ADHD,
A
lot of
Yeah.
numerous things, you know. And there's also like different types. There's chronic anxiety, chronic depression. There's like types and forms
Yeah.
that people need to realize that it's a thing.
Some
Therapy.
people don't think that eating disorders come under mental health. It actually does. Some people would say, "Oh, I'm not eating, I'm on a diet." But there's a difference in someone saying that and someone obsessing over the fact that they cannot eat.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
So some people would just say, "Oh, just don't eat then, or just eat a little bit more." But
Yeah.
it's not like that.
Mm-hmm. Eating disorder is a mental disease. People that go through it, I don't know what you're going through, but I do sympathize with you guys. I've had friends that have had eating disorders and that have been dismissed by their parents saying it's just mood swings.
Mood
Dude,
swings.
don't name it as mood swings. It's not mood
It's
swings.
not mood swings at all.
So don't do that. Don't name it mood swings. It's far apart from what mood swings look like.
Mm-hmm.
And let your kids go to therapy. Don't think of what the neighbors might think. Don't think of what the society might think. Think of what you want for your kid. Would you rather have, now I'm going to be very controversial, would you rather have your kid go to therapy or would you rather your kid kill themselves?
And I'm grateful that my dad actually support the view of therapy, because obviously recently you told me to go through therapy, which I will consider. Yeah, but therapy is something that when you go,
So expensive.
first it's really expensive, guys.
In New Zealand.
And as a student, I don't think I would have been able to continue. But yeah.
Yeah.
And also very difficult right from the first.
Have the acceptance that it is okay to be hard on yourself, but at the same time, have it at the back of your head that you are being too hard on yourself. Have the awareness so that once you come from the trip that you're being too hard on yourself, you realize that I was being hard on myself, and the next time it gets better every time you. Yeah.
But for me, it's like figuring out where to, because you know when you ask people how they're doing, sometimes they would say, "I'm doing fine," but you know you're actually not doing fine.
They're not.
So for me, I don't know where the line is, but
I remembered what I was gonna say when we took the very first take. You remember? I forgot what I was gonna say. I just remembered.
What did you?
Men's mental health, which is so underrated, or not discussed as widely as mental health in women. And last month was November, was World's Mental Health Day. Not a lot of people knew about it because men have this habit of keeping things to themselves. It's a very toxic thing, but something that it's not even something that we grow up with. It's something that's built into us. That's one of our core things.
Maybe grew up and built, I would say.
A bit of both,
Yeah,
maybe.
A bit of both. Maybe,
that we see our dads or grandfathers in our family keeping the stuff to themselves when they come from work. They don't discuss much about that. So we assume that maybe we're not supposed to tell our sorrows or our sufferings
Yeah.
out loud, because then the society would think that we're weak.
Mm.
That's another thing. If men talk about their mental health, they're considered weak.
Mm-hmm.
That's not it. Don't do that, because women talk about their women are very vocal about their mental health, and it's a good thing. We need, men need to be as vocal as women are about their mental health, so that they can
Everyone.
be addressed, because people don't realize how much men suffer in solidarity, yeah,
I mean, solitude.
solitude,
Yeah.
yeah. So they don't realize that they're just suffering, and it just never comes out. Sometimes it just happens, they just get used to it.
Yeah.
Because I often come across these stuff, and like, who would you call, asking to a man in a general interviews, who would you call if you were going through stuff, and 80%, 85% of the answers were no one, because no one cares. And it makes me really sad, because
It's like they have the
there
misunderstanding.
are definitely people
Yeah.
out there that cares. Your family, your mother, sister, your significant other,
Yeah.
your, I don't know, there are people that definitely care,
Mm-hmm.
but somehow it's built into their system that people don't care,
Yeah.
so they suffer in silence,
Mm-hmm.
in isolation.
Yeah.
That's the word I'm looking for, isolation.
Isolation.
And don't let anyone know. And therapy is a long shot, because if they think that they're not supposed to talk about it with their families, how do you think they're going to talk to a stranger about it?
Yeah.
It's a long shot from that,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So men's mental health should be something that needs to be considered really seriously,
Yeah.
especially in India. Because I think white people are getting more aware of this now, and they are getting therapy in. But then again, therapy in India is still considered taboo for even just general people. Maybe girls are doing it, but men find it really difficult for them to admit that they need therapy, or they somehow seem weak if they need therapy. You don't. You're
Yeah, you
actually
don't.
being really strong.
Mm.
So go get therapy.
Therapy helps.
Therapy helps.
Maybe as a student you will eventually don't have the money to afford it, but 1-2 sessions or 3 sessions that you can afford, just go for it.
Or go look at online podcasts and listen to therapeutic podcasts.
Yeah. Podcasts help as well.
Podcasts,
when understanding your own emotions, your own feelings.
Yeah.
You could listen to podcasts.
Because there are people literally talking about their own experiences, how they overcome that, how they went to therapy, and how it helped them.
Yeah, because sometimes when you struggle with mental, you have the idea that I'm the only one
That's going through it.
dealing. But then you will realize that it's a normal thing, but people take it as
Yeah, and that's the good thing about social media. That's
one positive
one
side.
positive side about social media, that you can go and see how many people are suffering from the same thing that you are, and be not happy, but be content with the fact that you're not the only one, and it's alright, and it's okay to ask for help.
Ask for help and get the resources you need to on your own journey.
Yeah.
It might not be the same thing that will help you, but on some level you'll get the base of what you need to improve on.
Yeah. And a lot of people fail to realize that therapy is not magic. It's not supposed to just magically heal you. It does a lot more that people don't seem to realize. Maybe you're on a negative path in your life, in your mental health, and it puts you on in a different direction. At least now, maybe if you're not healing, at least you're on a positive path. You're not going backwards.
Yeah.
Because if you don't go to therapy, you just keep going backwards, and your mental health is deteriorating by the day.
It's like it comes here and then it goes back and it comes to an ever low.
Yeah. So in order for that to go there, that point is therapy. Do that, and you'll see a significant difference. Not immediately, but somewhere down the line, you will realize. You will look back, and that therapy was good for me.
Yeah, you will realize that you were your own. You've adopted unhealthy coping mechanism, your own limiting beliefs. So it's gonna go, and you're gonna actually improve on it.
Yeah. So go get therapy.
That should be our concluding note.
Yeah. With that in mind, thank you for being a guest on the very first
Thank
in-person.
you. Oh yeah, in
Podcast.
person. Yeah. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah.
And
And,
I'm very much passionate about this one because when you struggle with it, then you know it,
mhm.
and it was really nice.
It was fun. It was fun. And until next time, guys, thank you for listening.
Thank you
Don't
very
forget
much.
to like, subscribe, share, and don't send me any messages regarding the podcast.